and make sure it's competitive, i.e. anybody can use it. You've heard this before, but I can't say it enough. The only way you'll solve your problem is to allow anybody access to that pipe. I might put a service on the end of it, but you've got to allow somebody else to and somebody else to. That's the only way you'll get competitive prices in your rural communities going forward, and ensure it allows multiple services, because we are going to see direct content services to the home. And if you don't allow your pipe to allow those through in a few years' time, you won't get them. You've got to think separately about the broadband service you're trying to solve, whether it be fixed or wireless or a combination, and the backhaul. We've heard that already. I won't go into that anymore. But make sure the backhaul, which is likely to be subsidised in a rural solution, is actually open, so that anybody can use it. And if it's paid for by public money, you control it where you can. You, the community. That way you'll decide who pays to go across it, how much they pay, and therefore you will be able to allow other service providers into your community to do whatever you want them to do. So where you're being paid money to put in backhaul, try and control that. And then you can attract obviously other people to use the backhaul. Right, so Gamblesby. It's 13 kilometres from here. We've assumed, this is a very quick and dirty look at it, to be fair to you, and this isn't a quote, okay, but it's 13 kilometres away. We've assumed it has no DSL. I don't think it has much, if it has any. It has 80 households, 1 business, and 206 outlying farms. So how are we going to deal with that? We're probably not going to run fibre to it anytime soon. So what are we going to do? So our thought with Daniel was something like this. We'd look at the infrastructure and the cost, the capital cost elements, and these would be a 4G base station in the centre of the village. Now in this case, we would guarantee to deliver in there actually 4 megabits, so it meets the 2 megabits per second requirement. Actually, depending on how many people are on it, given the number of potential users, a lot of the time they'll get higher than 4 megabits. And we've assumed it ought to be upgradable to 20. In fact, with LTE Advanced, which is already being offered in parts of Germany by Vodafone, they're offering rural areas 70 megabits by wireless. So that's where wireless is going. We're going up to the 70 to 100 megabits offering over the next 3 to 4 years with LTE Advanced. That's why you need to make sure what you build is upgradable. And easily and cheaply upgradable, by the way. We're assuming that, well, there isn't in Gamblesby, unfortunately, a church with a high spire. So we've got to build a pole. That adds to the cost of doing it. I'll come back to that again in a minute. We've also assumed that we'll deploy wireless Ethernet, because you're not going to be able to deploy fibre. And that's 3 hops. 1 onto the hill, there's a BT mast right on the top of the fell, and then 2 hops down into Penrith. So that's the sort of design that we've thought of for this example. The customer equipment, choices of customer equipment, modems at home if you want them, wireless modems with Wi-Fi out the back of them, or MiFi units. That's something about that big, which is in fact a mobile hotspot unit. Those people from America will have seen them. Clearwire is selling them in the US off their 4G network. So they give you a mobile hotspot off your 4G network. You can put it in your home, everybody can use it, or you can take it with you and use it outside. For the wider community, the ones that are away from the main base station, you put subscriber units on the farmhouses and link those in that way. And you can have USB dongles if you wanted to. But the MiFi units are better. I could explain that if anyone's interested in why. Moving on quickly, what would be the cost of that? Let's assume for a moment that half the village, back to Daniel's, so 143 people, 143 people out of 286 households, say they want it. The subsidy would need to be £475 to put the service in, and the operating cost, which is on the far side, is £98 a year. So if somebody's paying £10 a month, there's some profit in there for somebody like Daniel. These are cost figures. We haven't built in what Daniel would need to operate the network. Well, we have a little bit, but Obviously, it's a little bit debatable, that. So you could say that that washes its face, but you're not earning any money to upgrade your network as you want to as you go along. The customer equipment list is there. So anyone wanting the service would have to buy the receiver to go in their home, whichever one they wanted. I would recommend going for the £75 one, obviously. And Daniel could decide to bundle that in with the price and charge somebody obviously on a monthly basis, and we'd fund him to do that. So we could roll the whole service together if that's what somebody wanted. Now, however, if we could sign up more customers, and this is where the community comes in, and if we could use a church spire, there's not one in Gamblesby, but you might have one, so we didn't need to build a 12-metre pole, and we didn't need to use the BT mast and pay them rent for doing that, because we could use some other building that's available, because somebody was prepared to do that for nothing, and we could do the same with the 2 hops, and we could share the backhaul with Melmaby, who are just putting in something and need to share our backhaul, so that we've got one piece of backhaul sharing the cost. They have 100 households and 3 businesses, you can see. And if we could rent the backhaul to other users, in other words, we could then say to the 3G operator, we've got the backhaul into the village, now put a bit more 3G into the village for the mobile phone network, and whatever else we could do with it, we could start getting the cost down. And so we might, rule of thumb, get what we saw down as £475 as the initial build cost, down, if we got a 60% take-up, to £292. And we'd get the OPEX down to potentially £2 per household per month. Now, if you could get it down to that sort of level, but still charge 10 or 12, clearly you're putting some money in the bank, and I'm again assuming this is a community network, to be able to pay for the upgrade you're wanting to do in a couple of years' time on your wireless to get more capacity. So the message is, wireless is a solution for some of you, and it's part solution with fibre sometimes and sometimes on its own. Use it where you can is what I would recommend. Make sure the community engages with how we get the costs down, and then I think we've got some very viable ways of getting wireless out really quickly. If we got an order for Gamblesby tomorrow, just put this in perspective, you could have this service in 3 months. There's no way, if you wanted fibre, you're going to get it that quickly, although fibre would be better. So sometimes wireless might be the short-term quick way of getting it, because you're not wasting the equipment that's in the village, the fibre's just the backhaul. So you're just wasting, if you like, the wireless Ethernet pipe by replacing it with fibre. The bit at the end, you're not wasting. So you could take a short-term solution, put a wireless pipe in and a total solution at the other end, and then swap that out with fibre when you can afford to do that. So those are just some thoughts around how you might do it, but you would need somebody like Daniel who could help you get things together, work with us, get the prices to as most competitive as we can, work out how it's going to work, and give you the best service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. That's